Hej och välkomna tillbaka till Mangold Insights investerardag. Vi har besök från Storbritannien. Aktier Williamson ska presentera sitt bolag Wyld Networks för oss. Det är oerhört roligt och intressant att höra hur det går med dessa satelliter som ska se till så att det blir bättre täckning på platser där det vanligtvis inte går att få till. Det kommer Aktier att prata mer om. Sen så skulle jag vilja uppmana alla att skicka in frågor. Vi kommer att förmedla de här frågorna såklart till Pontus som kommer att köra Q&A sen. Så gör gärna det. Welcome Alistair and you can begin with your presentation.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, good morning everybody. My name is Alistair Williamson and I'm the CEO of Wyld Networks. So, Wyld Networks is a virtual satellite network operator for the Internet of Things, or IoT for short. And I'm just going to take you through a presentation that talks about the problems that we solve, the revenue model, and give you some examples of use cases. So what's the problem that we're actually solving? So as you can see from this slide, the Internet of Things, or the IoT market, is a huge market. And by 2028, the market is looking at deploying about 46 billion IoT devices across the world. And that's 46 billion IoT devices on a yearly basis by 2028. The problem is that only 15% of the world's surface has access to the internet. So we can't deploy those billions of IoT devices in that 85% of the world's surface because there's no access to the internet. So that's a big problem, and we've solved that problem. And we've solved that problem by providing 100% global access to the internet by using low Earth orbiting satellites. And obviously satellites, as they orbit around the Earth about every 90 minutes, they basically cover the whole of the Earth's surface. So we provide our customers with the ability for them to deploy their IoT devices, those 46 billion IoT devices, anywhere in the world, and provide those IoT devices connectivity to the internet. And a recent report that came out basically looked at the economics of being able to solve this problem. And that report basically stated that if someone can come and provide 100% global access, internet access for IoT devices, that could add about $3 trillion to global GDP over the next 10 years. So it really solves a really real world problem. And if you look at the market drivers, why are people deploying all of these IoT devices? Well, companies want to gather data, and they're data hungry. And these IoT devices are put onto sensors to collect data for our customers. They then use that data to make informed decisions. And those informed decisions are about how do these companies boost their operational efficiency and lower their costs by collecting this data from anywhere in the world. But it's not just about operational efficiencies and reducing costs that companies are deploying all these IoT devices. It's also about helping them meet their sustainability goals. And when I go through some of the use cases, you'll understand what I mean by increasing their operational efficiency, reducing cost, and how they meet their sustainability goals. But to give you an idea of the size of the market for Wyld, I just talk about the Wyld's addressable market. The Wyld addressable market for this solution is about $4.3 billion by 2028. So just a brief on Wyld. So we were founded in Cambridge in 2016 in the UK. We have about 31 people working for the company. We listed on the Nasdaq First North in July 2021 and also on the OTCQB in the United States in 2022. And just to give you some updates from my last discussion with Mangold, what's happened since then? Well, a lot's happened since then. We've built an order backlog of up to approximately 94 million krona. And I'll go through what that order backlog actually looks like. But basically, that 94 million order backlog, once we get all of those devices into the field, that will take Wyld cash flow positive. So it's a real substantial order backlog that we've built up. And I get questions from shareholders saying, fantastic, that's great work, lovely order backlog, but we haven't seen any orders in the last months. But in reality, our focus in the last months has really been looking at production, product control, quality control. It's also been about developing installation tools, configuration tools. Our real focus has been on how do we make this a seamless experience for our customers to deploy our solution into the network. I think we've sort of got ourselves to the position where we've got all the installation capability, all of the scripting, configuration tools, the product qualities there. And we've now got ourselves in a situation where I think we move to the next stage, which is now sort of looking to really further commercialize Wyld into the network. So we are looking at adding additional product to our portfolio. We recently launched an S-band product. Our existing product is in the ISM band. The ISM band is a great band because it's free to use. The S-band is a spectrum that has certain benefits over the ISM band where we can double the amount of data we can send up from a device. So we've added S-band capability, and we're in the process of adding 5G NB-IoT capability to our solution. So we're going to be having a product portfolio that goes from very low bandwidth and scaling that up to higher bandwidths. We're shipping product, which is an update since last time we spoke. So we're getting product out the door. We're getting product into our customers' hands. So that's really good news. We also launched Wyld Fusion as a standalone platform, and I'll come back to that later on in the slides. You can see what we've done in respect to generating an additional revenue stream with Wyld Fusion as a standalone platform. And also we signed an agreement with SpaceX, which is a really fantastic agreement. It really is. It's a very exciting project for us, where we're looking to help SpaceX, so Elon Musk's company, in particular their Starlink offering to the market, which is basically offering their customers broadband access. So they're basically providing a service to people using low Earth orbiting satellites. Obviously, we're providing a service to offer IoT connectivity using low Earth orbiting satellites. So we're working together to understand how we can basically collaborate and get IoT connectivity into SpaceX as well. So that's an exciting project, and that will give you updates as we go through that agreement and program with SpaceX. So how do we do this? How do we provide this 100% global coverage? Well, if you look at this PowerPoint slide, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, we've developed hardware, Wyld Connect modules and terminals. And these devices get connected to IoT devices on the ground, and our modules and terminals basically take the data from the IoT devices, and when a satellite passes overhead, we send the data to a satellite. When the satellite passes over a ground station, the data is then sent down to the ground station and is then connected to Wyld Fusion, which is a platform we've developed. And that platform collects that data. It does device management, provisioning, and payment, and then passes that data to our customers. Our customers have industry platforms to do their data analytics. Then our customers use that data to make informed decisions. So we provide a complete end-to-end solution from collecting the data, sending it to data from IoT devices, sending to satellite, satellite down to Fusion, and then Fusion to our customers. So if we look at the products in a bit more detail, I talked about the hardware piece. That's the Wyld Connect module and the Wyld Connect terminal that basically connect to the IoT devices. So the Wyld Connect module is a device, a piece of electronics that gets integrated into an IoT device. So it's a very small piece of electronics, gets integrated into an IoT device and has the capability to send data to satellites. And we've currently got order backlogs of about 235,000 of these modules. We sell them for about $49 each. And those modules will get rolled out to our customers, who will then install them in their IoT devices. On the terminal side, which basically does a very similar function to the module, but it's separate to the IoT device. So you connect the IoT device either wirelessly or by wire to our terminal, and our terminal has a lot more battery backup and processing capabilities in the module, but it creates the same function. And we've got orders for about 4,500 of these terminals, and we sell these terminals for about $499 each. So that's the hardware piece. We then have Wyld Fusion, and Wyld Fusion is our provisioning, data management and device management and payment platform. And we sell that to our customers on a subscription basis. So they pay us a monthly fee to get access to Fusion. And then the fourth part of where we generate revenues really comes from our Wyld Connect data. Now that's the data plan. So with all the modules and terminals that we sell, our customers pay us up to $5 per month to actually use the network. So to give you an example, we've got an order backlog of about 239,500 pieces of hardware, that's modules and terminals. So for each of those 239,000 modules and terminals, our customers pay us $5 per month for each of those. So if you look at the order backlog, that represents about 1.2 million US dollars per month to actually use the network. So if you look at our business model, it's very, very similar to a mobile phone network in that you pay for your hardware. Our customers pay for the module and the terminal. That's a one-off fee. And then every month you pay your operator a certain amount of dollars or krona every month to use the network. Our revenue model is exactly the same. They pay a one-off fee for the hardware, that's the modules and terminals, and then every month they pay up to $5 for each, $5 per month for each of those modules and terminals that are deployed into the network. And that's where we get our reoccurring business from. So the model is very, very similar to that of a mobile operator. So I want to talk about use cases. You know, where is this used? So our solution is used in agriculture, energy, utilities, logistics, and the environment. Those are sort of industry verticals that have got a lot of assets in that 85% of the world's surface that's got no access to the internet. You know, agriculture, there's no access to the internet because, let's be honest, internet access is in cities and towns where people live. You know, energy, same situation. The oil and gas guys have got millions and millions of pipelines all around the world that are out of range of traditional cellular networks. So they need satellite connectivity. Same with utility in water, gas and electricity, in logistics with maritime and in the environment. All of these verticals have assets in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no access to the internet today. However, we do provide that connectivity with satellites. If we just have a look at, you know, a few individual use cases. So this is a company in Brazil, it's called Trevia, and they have developed sensors for forestry protection and forestry productivity. So if we just take Brazil alone, there's 500 million hectares of forest in Brazil. It's massive. And traditionally what happens in the forestry business is that companies just fell these trees without real thought about whether that tree is in the optimum prime health to be felled. So there's a huge amount of waste in felling forestry. It's a massive market. The market's about 322 billion US dollars. So forestry is a massive market. And what Trevia have done is they've developed a sensor that's connected to a tree that basically looks at the girth of the tree, the water content of the tree, and the health of the tree to basically provide information to those people that are lumbering the forests as to what is the optimal tree to fell. So you reduce the amount of waste. You're only actually taking trees down that provide you with an optimum transition from tree to lumber. So our device is, our module is integrated into that sensor there. and all that data is sent up via satellite. It goes to our customer. Our customer gets details on the health of that tree and whether it's optimized to be felled. And if it's optimized to be felled, they go out and fell it. So it reduces a huge amount of waste in the forestry business. So that's just one example. We have an agreement with Bayer, a contract with Bayer, and the agreement with Bayer is that we're shipping product to help them look at pollination control. Now, pollinators are responsible for 30% of all the food we eat. So without pollinators, we're in a very bad position. So 30% of all crop, all food that we eat is actually created by pollinators, pollinators being bees. And if you look at the US in particular, bees are responsible for about $15 billion worth of crop every year. In actual fact, in the US, companies actually fly bees in planes to farms to get them to pollinate. There's a huge market in pollination. And obviously Bayer are very keen to ensure that the health of all these pollinators is optimized. So they use our technology to collect information on the health of beehives using Wyld's satellite connectivity solution, providing that information to their customers that allows their customers to ensure that the pollinators are actually healthy and they're out there generating and pollinating crop to generate all that additional food that's required. Here's another example. This one's in South Africa, and this is to do with soil moisture sensors. So in agriculture, 70% of all fresh water is actually used in agriculture. 70% is a huge amount of water is actually used in agriculture. And of that 70%, 30% of it's wasted by over-irrigation. That's mainly because they don't have technology to allow them to understand when to irrigate, so they over-irrigate. So companies have developed soil moisture sensors that measure the content of water in the soil so that they know when to irrigate. So they don't over-irrigate, they don't under-irrigate. But obviously they need to collect this data. So we've got a deal going on in South Africa where there's a company deploying soil moisture sensors. They're connecting that to our satellite solution. We send the data to satellite, then satellite back down to Fusion. They collect that data, and that data allows them to understand when they should irrigate, when they shouldn't irrigate. And basically, we've demonstrated this whole technology can reduce the waste of water by over 50%. And it can also increase the yield of crop by optimizing the irrigation by about 15%. So it's a very valuable solution, and a lot of our business is in agriculture and is related to soil moisture sensors. So if we have a look at an example here. Here's an example of a soil moisture sensor actually in South Africa. You can see the soil moisture sensor is actually in the ground. There's some battery capability and there's a satellite modem on top of the pole. So that's an example of a deployment. And just to give you an idea of the size of that farm, it's a relatively small farm, but there are literally tens of thousands of farms that are deploying soil moisture sensors all over the world, and they're using our solution to collect that data. I've got one more use case, and this relates to the wind turbine business. This is a customer called IMAE. They're actually in Brazil as well. What is interesting about Brazil is that over 50% of all of their power comes from renewable sources. So they're much further ahead than a lot of other countries in the world. So there's a lot of wind generated energy coming out of Brazil. And these companies need to optimize the power that's generated from those wind turbines. Those wind turbines are located in areas where there's no connectivity, and they need satellite connectivity to collect that data. So they're using Wyld networks to actually collect that data, analyze that data, and optimize the amount of power that's generated from these wind turbines. So that's just a few examples of use cases. As I say, there are literally tens of thousands of different types of use cases that our customers are using our solution for. Basically, what they want to do is collect data from Internet of Things, IoT devices, anywhere in the world. So I talked a bit earlier about Wyld Fusion as a standalone IoT platform, and I want to come back to that because we announced that a few weeks ago. As you can see from that diagram, we use Wyld Fusion as our device management, provisioning platform and our payment platform. So it collects the data from the satellite and basically passes that data to the customer for the customer to use that data to make informed decisions. Wyld Fusion is an IoT platform. Now, we developed that platform ourselves. When we were building the network, we looked at trying to find a platform from a third party because there's lots of IoT platforms out there. But what we couldn't find was an IoT platform that did both terrestrial connectivity and satellite connectivity. Because part of our offering to the market is that if you're in range of a terrestrial network, our modules and terminals will send data to the terrestrial network. That's in that 15%. And when you're in that 85%, we'll send the data to satellites. So what we ended up doing is basically developing Wyld Fusion for our own end-to-end solution and offered to the market. A bit more about Wyld Fusion in that, yes, we use it as our own platform for our own solution, but we've now started to offer it to customers as a standalone platform. What's phenomenal about it is it's multi-sensor, it's multi-device management, it's multi-operator support, and it supports both satellite and terrestrial connectivity. So we've launched it a few weeks ago as a standalone platform, so it's a different revenue generator for Wyld. Yes, we use it in our own end-to-end ecosystem, our own end-to-end network, but we're also selling it to customers that are looking for an IoT platform to support both terrestrial connectivity and satellite connectivity. And to give you an idea of the size of an IoT platform market, it's set to grow to about $17 billion by 2028. It's a massive market, the IoT platform market. And when we looked at who had platforms, there were companies that had IoT platforms to support terrestrial networks, such as Siemens, PTC, SAP, IBM, Microsoft. But there wasn't anyone that basically had a platform to support satellite and terrestrial connectivity. And that's why we developed the platform. And that's why we're now generating a second revenue stream, which is selling our IoT platform to customers that want both terrestrial and satellite connectivity. And we already have customers who have terrestrial networks for IoT connectivity. They want to go to satellite. And what they want to do is basically just take one platform. So we have customers who are already looking to migrate their terrestrial networks onto our Wyld Fusion platform and then be able to offer satellite support moving forward. So that's my presentation, and hopefully it's given you some insight into Wyld Networks, and I'm happy to take any questions.
And thank you for your presentation, Alistair. So I'm just going to start with a question. Do you have the full production capabilities that you're looking to have in the production?
The production capabilities is not a problem for us. So we have we've outsourced to factories in Philippines and in India. So we have full capability of generating the modules. And we also have manufacturing capabilities in the UK, which is lower volume, but we use the manufacturing capability in the UK for the lower volume terminals. And we use the factories in India and Philippines for the modules. So yeah, we have full capability to generate product.
Yeah. And how fast will you be able to process this order backlog that you have?
It's customer dependent, to be honest with you. So I talked earlier about what we've spent the last few months on, and that's really been on providing tools to allow our customers to deploy quicker. So we've developed scripts for installation, scripts, these are tools, software tools for installation, for configuration, for provisioning, because we really want to help our customers to be able to deploy more rapidly. And it's all about having a seamless experience. If we go back a few years and you remember the days of computers, it would take you several hours to configure your laptop. Well, today, you take a laptop out of the box, you press a button, it starts, it works. So what we're trying to do, or what we've done, is develop all these tools to reduce the amount of time it takes our customer to basically deploy those modules and terminals into the field. The terminals are really relatively easy to deploy because, you know, we provide all the battery backup, they've got solar panel capability, you know, everything's built into it with the antennas. So they just need to be connected to an IoT device and configured and provisioned. The modules, it's a bit harder because our customers actually have to integrate, so they have to do engineering work to integrate those modules into their IoT devices. So it's very customer dependent.
And this collaboration with SpaceX, what could this mean revenue-wise for Wyld?
I think it's fairly substantial, to be honest with you. I'm not going to put a figure on it because we don't know at this moment in time. But I suspect that the partnership will grow pretty rapidly. If you look at what SpaceX or Elon Musk's doing with Starlink, you know, he's put satellites up there to provide internet access in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no connectivity, but he's providing internet access, broadband service for people. What we're doing is exactly the same, but we're providing internet access for things, for sensors. And our belief is that the majority of people live in cities and towns where there is existing broadband access and existing IoT access, but there is a much larger number of IoT devices compared to people that are in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no connectivity. So the synergies are really very, very clear as a partnership moving forward.
And have you seen a lot of traction for the standalone Wyld Fusion platform?
We've seen a lot of traction for the standalone platform. I'd say we already have one customer that's migrated its terrestrial devices, IoT devices, onto Fusion. I think probably in the next couple of weeks we will have the second customer migrating, and we have one larger customer that has over 1 million terrestrial IoT devices, and we'll be looking to get him migrated over to the platform as well. The great thing about this is that they're migrating their existing connectivity onto our platform and then looking to put satellite on top of that platform to provide 100% global access.
Yeah. And how do you look at the competition? Is there large competition or?
So there is competition. There are people offering satellite IoT solutions. But I think what we do, which is really, really clever, is that, and hard to do, but we've engineered it, is that we offer an affordable solution. So we're basically using the ISM band, which is free-to-use spectrum, so you don't have to pay for the spectrum. So we're using free-to-use spectrum to reduce the cost of the overall solution, so it becomes affordable for a lot of these customers in agriculture, in energy, in the environment, whereas previously it's been unaffordable for them, so they haven't used the technology. Now we've got a complete end-to-end affordable solution that meets the return on investments required for a lot of new use cases. So I think that's the unique piece about what Wyld does and differentiates itself from its competitors.
Yeah, and you're also adding the S-band and 5G NB-OT. How do you look on that? Do you need to license it, or how?
Well, the S-band, we don't need to license it. With the S-band, the satellite operator we're working with has already got the license. We decided to go to bring S-band in because it provided a greater throughput, a greater bandwidth. So in reality, the bandwidth the amount of data that can be sent up through S-band is about 100 times more than through ISM. So it basically gave us new use cases to go after. So that's the reason we brought the S-band piece in. Obviously, that means they're not paying up to $5 per month per device. They're paying up to $500 per month per device when they're utilizing the S-band solution. And the 5G NB-IoT part of it was really important for us because if you look at IoT protocols, low power wide area network protocols for IoT, there's LoRaWAN and there's 5G NB-IoT. Both of those protocols add up to over 90% of all the protocols that would be used for low power wide area IoT networks. So it made a lot of sense to basically double the size of our market by bringing 5G NB-IoT into play. And also what was important about 5G NB-IoT was it also broadened our market segment. So we were now basically able to offer a product to mobile operators that have a 5G license and they've got the 5G NB-IoT spectrum. So that allowed them to take our solution to their customers.
And just one last question. What do you want to accomplish in 2024?
Shipping in volume. Getting Wyld Fusion as the #1 satellite and terrestrial platform. And I guess number 3 is really building up that order backlog beyond what we've got at the moment to take us through to the next phase of the company.
Perfect. Thank you, Alistair.
No, thank you.